Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another channel of Vanguard Metabolic Nutrition. I am Franco, your host with Vanguard Metabolic Nutrition, where we optimize health from the ground up. So, we want to talk about the new dietary guidelines, as there has been a lot of back and forth and arguments and agreeing or disagreeing on the picture of the new pyramid and the guidelines. And let me tell you, they're two separate entities, and a picture does not represent what is updated on the new dietary guidelines. And these guidelines matter because they really do shape our nation. They shape our school policies, our military, prisons, federal funding. So changes that occur in the dietary guidelines really do matter. Changes that occur in the picture of the dietary guidelines, those are left for interpretation. So we're here to not going back and forth about the picture, and there are limitations with the picture. Some people agree with some of the items, some people disagree on the placement of the items. We are not here to debate that. We're here to talk about the dietary guidelines and what matters most. And there's two important changes that happened with the new updates. One was an increase in protein requirements, and the other was talking about and including foods that are going to help promote your gut microbiome, so your gut bacteria, and improve the diversity of it. So we'll be talking more about that gut microbiome in later episode. But today, let's focus on protein and what the new protein requirements say. So the update was pretty much increasing your total protein needs to doubling the amount that was previously recommended. And in my opinion, in my professional opinion and experience, I agree with this change, as the previous guidelines just told us that we had to eat the bare minimum of protein, and this was just enough to pretty much keep us alive and surviving, not to optimize our health. But what we've noticed is that over years, over time, especially after you turn 30 and above, your body does not synthesize protein that well. So it doesn't use protein that well to convert it in your gut. And then you're more prone to losing more muscle mass just as we age. So this picks up after the age of 30s and then really accelerates after the age of 60s. So we have to prioritize protein in every way possible, because this is a one nutrient that if you don't get enough of from your food, your body will pay for it, meaning your skeletal muscle will literally break down to supply the protein that your vital organs need to survive. Your heart, your lungs, your liver, your brain, all the essential organs take priority. So if we're not getting enough protein coming in from our food, our muscles will break it down. So with an aging population, with chronic diseases, with people trying to lose weight, protecting your muscle mass has really become key. And many people are leaning into adopting a higher protein diet, but you may not be actually eating a high protein diet, and there's still some confusion on what foods are considered high protein. So we're going to provide some clarity with that. But first, the recommended protein guidelines have increased from zero point 0.8 grams of protein per day per kilogram all the way to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram. So this is based on your ideal body weight, which will provide some graphs and formulas for you to determine what your key protein goals are. But for a lot of women, it's going to be close to about 90 grams of protein a day. For men, it's going to be about 120 or more. So for most meals, you want to try to aim to get close to 30 grams of protein, and some people benefit from getting closer to 50 grams of protein per meal. So at the end of the day, this will add up and provide you with the sufficient protein and amino acids that your body needs to repair, rebuild, and just maintain and sustain your muscle mass. Because ultimately, the amino acids from the protein you're taking in are the building blocks of your body. So it is really important that we're getting the right quantity and the right amount. Okay, so what is considered a high protein food? Well, you would simply look at the food itself and determine where most of the calories are coming from. So if most of the calories are coming from protein, then it's going to be a high protein food. But if most of the calories are coming from fat and they contain a little bit of protein, then it is not a protein food. It is a high fat food. And the same thing with starches. If most of the calories are coming from carbohydrates and they contain a little bit of protein, then it is not considered a high protein food. So pretty much you want to either match the amount of protein that you're getting compared to the carbs or fat that you're getting with that particular food, or protein is going to be higher compared to the other nutrients. So some examples are of what is considered a high protein food would be eggs. So although eggs do have fat, especially in the yolk, each egg, will provide you about 60 to 70 grams of, 60 to 70 calories. And with that, you'll get about 6 to 7 grams of high quality protein, meaning it has all the essential amino acids, including the branch chain amino acids, which are key for protein synthesis. So most animal products, eggs, chicken, beef, pork, turkey, bison, game meat, all those contain all the essential amino acids. So all those are high protein foods. And that's pretty understood by, also fish, tuna. So those are pretty understood to be high protein foods for most people. Now, some of the non-animal based foods that are complete protein foods, I would say the best one is soy products. So soy milk, tofu, tempeh, those items are complete sources of protein and they are plant foods. Now, the confusion comes in with other things that are considered protein, even by other dietitians or practitioners, but are really not, and that are really confusing people and not letting them help get the adequate protein goals that they're aiming for and have that good calorie balance. So, the first culprit is nuts or nut butters. So for the longest time, these have been considered a protein food. And when people say just throw in some protein with your apples or your snack, they talk about nut butters. Nuts or nut butters are not a protein food. They contain some protein, but the majority of the calories come from fat. So it is a dense food that has high amounts of calories, mainly coming from fat with very little protein. And those proteins are missing some of the key branch chain amino acids. So it's not even a complete protein. So for this nut butter, which is a sun butter, it doesn't matter, sun butter, almond butter, peanut butter, all the same, pretty much equivalent amount of fat compared to protein. So this has about 16 grams of total fat. So you just look at your nutrition label, look at the serving size, see what we're talking about. So we're talking about 2 tablespoons, has 16 grams of fat. And out of those 200 calories of those 2 tablespoons, we're only getting 7 grams of protein. Okay. So it's 7 grams of protein compared to 16 grams of fat. And fat has twice as many calories per gram compared to protein or carbohydrates. So anything that has grams of fat is double the amount. So this nuts, any sort of nuts, nut butters are high fat foods, not high protein foods. All right. Another common one is cheese. This is a particular goat cheese that we like with cranberry, and the the point is that most cheeses are high in fat with very little bit of protein. Some even contain a little bit of carbohydrates. But again, the majority of the calories are coming from fat. So if you're eating this item, it should not be considered a protein source because it only has very little bit of protein. So here again, we look at the nutrition label. So we look at the serving size. It's telling us 4 serving sizes of 1 ounce. So this is a total of 4 ounces. So everything we're looking at, we're going to multiply it times 4 if we eat this whole block, which I usually do when I eat it. So out of this, I'm getting 80 calories per serving. So times 4 is 320 calories that I'll be consuming by eating this block. And out of that, it's 3 grams of protein per serving. So I'm getting 12 grams of protein from that. From those 320 calories, only 12 of those are coming from protein. So again, where we're comparing the fat to the protein, for 1 serving is 4.5 grams of total fat and 3 grams of protein for 1 serving. So again, fat is twice as much calories compared to protein. So any type of cheese, any cheese snack, we're not saying it's a bad food. We're just saying to recognize it and categorize it as a fat, not a protein-based food. Okay? So an example of a dairy food that would be a protein-based food would be something like cottage cheese. I like these single package cottage cheeses because they're good for on the go and they contain a little bit of fruit on top, which you can mix in there. So for this container of cottage cheese, it is 160 calories. And out of that, 14 grams of protein come out of those 160 grams, 160 calories. With that, it has 5 grams of fat. And since they threw in some fruit to give it a little bit of flavor and mix it in, it does contain 16 grams of carbohydrates. But overall, you're getting 14 grams of protein from only 160 calories compared to the cheese, where you pretty much get twice as many calories or more with less protein. And then when we compare that to eggs, this is about 60 calories if it's just hard boiled. And out of that, you'll get about 7 grams of protein. So recognize your protein foods by identifying where the majority of the calories are coming from. And if you are trying to achieve a high protein eating plan, make sure that you are focusing on including high quality protein foods. And it might be a little bit harder than what you expect to meet your goals. So any help that you need, any fine tuning, any individualized meal plans, let us know. We're here to support you all the way. All right, so stay healthy, have a good February, enjoy your time, and we'll talk to you next time.